Okay, so it's really early. And Stella's sitting like right underneath my feet, so and the curtains aren't even open yet. And it makes it look like it's light out, but that's just my fake sun to give my plants light. It's so crazy too, is in that week and a half that I was gone, I set up an irrigation for my plants. My plants are going wild, but they're not, it looks weird. Like the broccoli is not growing in a bunch, and neither is the cauliflower. I did eat a bit of the broccoli when it first happened. I got a shit ton of squash coming, tons of flowers of squash. I don't even know what kind of squash. I just kept putting things out to see what would grow. Like, I put like a whole squash out and let the seeds and everything go into the ground, let it just rot into the ground. And so I've got a lot of squash growing. And I've had some onions out of there. I had some broccoli. It definitely, and all the starts were from the school kids. Well, who's gonna have the weirdo fucking science seeds? School. So, anyways, but I am seeing, I'm learning still a lot. I'm not a gardener, like, so I'm still learning. And there's a lot to learn about this stuff, about taking care of yourself, about growing, about knowing your area, what grows in your soil, what foods can sustain you. I've got a lot of beans out there, and they're just not really taking off. I had one whole bean shoot thing, and I opened it, and I ate the raw beans out of it, because I also did that little magic trick before I planted the beans. I sucked on every one of them, and then I planted them. And supposedly, if you suck on the beans, then that's a transference of like energy, that the bean knows what you need, and so the bean will grow what you need. This nature thing is pretty magical. So yeah, I did that. So I ate those raw beans, but I feel like my health has been improving so much just in everything I've been doing, but it's kind of just like a slow roll. You just keep at it, you chug away. Stella's health has improved so much. I just can't even believe last summer I thought that she was not going to be here. I thought that was, her last days. And she's pulling me. I mean, she totally is walking me. And she is so strong now. It's crazy. The only thing is, she wants to go on these long ass walks, and she's slow and she's panting. And then we come in, and it takes her a long time to, she'll just keep panting and panting and panting. And like, I worry like it could be her heart or something, I would think. But, I mean, I just got to keep at it. And I don't know if I already had said this, but there's some woman, I don't know, she's a nutritionist. I don't think she was a pharmacist. I don't remember what the hell she was, but she was saying that a pinch of boron is way too much, that to only use a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, and you should use it being controlled in capsules so you know exactly how much you're getting. Anytime they go like that, then it's just like, so I'm sticking with the pinch only. I'm doing less. And the improvements in her health since we started doing it, in her strength, in her gait, everything, like, anything that is rebuilding our minerals and stuff like that, that they are taking out. And it's, 2016 was when I started making my dogs homemade food. Is when I woke up to what they were putting in why all the animals were dying of cancer. And plus I had that relation to being a kid, and on the farm, you just scrape all the plates of food together, and then that was the dog's food. You took it out and the dogs shared it. That was the hierarchy of eating for an animal back then. It was the same when I was a kid. Like after dinner, you scraped all of our food into a thing and took it out to the dog. And so, like, I didn't really know about that kibble thing until I was older. And my first fella was well, I won't say my first fella, because my first love, what I did marry him. I was so insecure back then. I couldn't even acknowledge it. Oh my God, I've spent a lot of time of insecurity in my life. So, anyways, the food thing, I woke up to that about the dog food thing. In 2016, when I first started waking up, or I started, realizing like people don't kill because the Bible tells them not to. Like, what the fuck in this world? And and where I started going, this is the kind of shit I would say to people. And this is why they all started thinking I was going crazy, because I would be like, how can anyone sell you land? Who owns it? How do they claim to own the earth? How can they sell you something they don't own? And people be like, I don't know. I don't know why. Just, okay. It's just like, so you start talking logic and people are just like, oh, don't get crazy on me. And it's like, it's not crazy, it's logic. But as when I started waking up to the dog food, and I saw a couple of different documentaries and stuff with vets, and that is still a topic of conversation with my kids, and the food and how I feed my dog. And you just believe anything you saw on the internet. Anyways, exciting, because now it's so many more people. I just saw this big content creator yesterday going, I've just been doing so much, and she's doing a whole video of how she's making her dog food now. And she's just seen so many videos. She went down that rabbit hole and saw, and it is killing the dogs. What they're feeding them is killing them. And I've been saying it, but there's so many things I've been saying since 2016 that it just becomes exhausting. Like how, that's why I said it's like a transition. Like you exhaust yourself trying to get people to wake up and point things out and show them and tell them. And then you think like, well, if I say this will certainly just trigger something. They'll wake up. And then that's not happening. And I mean, it has been a thing, going through this whole thing for so early on. I mean, I know there was other people, everybody's been waking up at different times to different things, but where you wake up to the illusion, where you're in this fake world, and it's where you start seeing, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. And then when you're going through it, I mean, at least now a lot of people have people to talk to, which is really exciting too, that so many people are finding my account and relating to me, because, I mean, I've been considered such a weirdo for my whole life. And then, to me now, other weirdos can find me. And then the people who are questioning reality finally have some weirdos to listen to, because those of us who were like interested in UFOs and astrology, or anything about the stars or other realities, or any of ghosts, Bigfoot, any of that stuff. People would laugh at you and think you're crazy and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but why don't you guys think that it's real? Like, it's so strange to me how people just bought into the story. Like, I didn't ever buy into the stories. So, see, I was more awake in that area than a lot of people. Like, there's a part of that is waking up in people that I'm super comfortable with, because, yeah, I've always been there. So, we all have different aspects of ourselves in relation to our existence that is waking up at different times. But it's really exciting, though, where more people can find me. And then somebody had said, you sound like me talking to myself. That is what I keep trying to get people to understand. Start talking to yourself. If you're not talking to yourself, you're missing out on good conversation, because talking to yourself is where you're going to start finding there's other people answering you. You're going to find yourself in conversations. It's not even going to be just you and one person. Sometimes it's you talking and there's a couple people, but then you have like a fucking, echo chamber back here. It's like once the energy is out there of you opening yourself for communication. You can be flooded. And that is why it's important, about discernment and about learning and growing in your spirituality. Because like I said, I have been, channeling or talking to these other beings since I was really little. So it's just like natural, like people who are coming to it now and starting to get mind over matter. That's funny. Yeah, that are coming to it now. You may not have the same discernment because if you haven't done all your healing, like I said, you've got all these attachments, these energies that you drew into yourself, that you fed with your insecurities, your anger, your guilt, your shame, all of that. You fed those energies and they attached to you. And now you want to have them go away, but see, you don't recognize the relationship, the bond that you've created. And you've got to heal the stuff. You've got to make your vibration uncomfortable so that they don't want to be attached to you. So that but you do that through healing and stuff. Otherwise, you have to have such strong discernment. And if spirituality is just becoming something that's new to you, you got to be careful because you have so many, and there's all sorts of energies that are trying to communicate. And you have to really recognize, the energy of the communication, and if it's out to just be good for you, it's probably more low vibration. If it's out for all of humanity to grow and unite and love, that is the key, is when you're looking for the higher, the higher communication, it has to do with all of those kinds of things: love, acceptance, unity, growing. Like those energies are out there. They want to communicate. They want to point things out. And but sometimes when they point things out, you got to remember you're going to see something in you that you're like, you could feel shame, you could feel like your foot's in your mouth, you could feel stupid. That's why you got to be ready to face yourself, ready to face your healing and stuff. And so, and each person has such a unique way of how this is going to occur for them. And they got to get comfortable with it because they got to realize that they are so far advanced of a soul than what they have been led to believe. Like your programming tries to get you to think that you are insignificant, and you're probably a new soul that doesn't know anything. I just saw this cute video footage of this new dad with his little baby. I've seen so many cute little baby ones, but just the way that these babies are looking, sitting up, looking around and stuff, like if y'all can't see that these are fucking grown-ass souls. These are not where people think that babies are baby souls. Like I used to, when I was a little kid, when they were talking to me and they were telling me things and stuff like that, I remember before thinking that a soul would be born. Like it seems like that's part of like religion or something. Like a soul is born into this. Then it sees like if it's good or bad. And then it goes to the good place or the bad place or something. But I don't know when it was that I started because I've known about reincarnation for so long. Like there's no soul that comes in, and your DNA, you are the energy that goes and animates the avatar is the soul, the soul, the cell, the energy in all the lives that you've lived. Like you can see why, as a soul, the more of a warrior the more lives, the more hard things that you go through and learn is how you become a warrior. Like where souls feel like weak and, life's too hard, is not how you feel when you're not in this incarnation. And I don't think all incarnations are as heavy as this anyways. Like we're going through a hard, heavy time that is bringing a lot of souls to their knees. It's the come to Jesus moments that I've been talking about. I saw another girl and she said, I started saying all this stuff was going to happen in 2016, just like I was. I was telling everybody what was coming. And she said that she was too, and everything's coming to true. And I was like, me too. And I mean, I didn't say this to her, but I'm thinking that. And hers was in 2016 too. See, I think there was a lot of spiritual stuff going on that people who are just waking up don't realize. Like it was huge. And there was a lot of pressure because they were talking about the solar event was like about to go down, like in the spiritual community. Spiritual community, has grown and grown and grown now. More and more people, more and more girls becoming readers, more and more people getting into astrology, more and more people starting accounts. Like it is growing and growing. The thing that bothers me is how many people go out and try and teach about spirituality, and it's like they're false teaching or something. They are and I just think that there's like so many people new to spirituality, and so whatever it is that they think, then they think that they have all the answers now, because now they've connected to themselves, so they think they have all the answers, but it's a lot more complex. It's a lot more complex and complicated than just plugging into the spiritual world. The spiritual world is, just like I said, like you can be tricked so easily. You have to really start understanding about energy. Like, I mean, spiritual people out there who, still think aliens or demons, like all of this complete nonsense. Oh, and how I'll be talking about, like, I'll see a video and this somebody who considers themselves to be totally awake. They're out there trying to wake people up. And I'll, be like listening to something they're saying. I'm like, yeah, yeah. And then they will say something that's just like, oh my God. And one of these girls is, a lot of times they'll say stuff and all of a sudden they'll turn into religion stuff. And it's just like, oh my God. Oh, Jesus. It's like a fucking heavy ass anchor. Fucking religion does. People don't even realize how much religion holds you back. But this one was science. And I'm pretty sure I had said, it was a while back when, I was hearing her say something, and then she started going off on her degrees, and, like she's trying to override what somebody said, throwing around, here's my dick, here's my papers, like waving it in somebody's face. Well, I've got this degree and I've got this degree, so therefore I'm the expert. It's like, okay. And that right there, especially when you have the spiritual knowing of what's happening on the planet with the ego, and why it's being so shown, it's so highlighted in so many people's lives right now. But they've got to recognize it. They've got to see. They're showing it to all of us, just like waving their dicks in our face. But it just, to those of us who are truly awake, it is just, it's obnoxious, but it just shows you're not awake when you're still valuing things that have no value. And so she was saying the kind of arrogant. She just got on a soapbox or something, just started talking from her degree perspective about stuff. So I just started skimming past her videos. I don't fucking want to hear what she has to say anymore. And but a lot of people I don't go. There's a few, like I did unfollow Nerdy White Guy, but it was like, fuck, dude. Like there's a few that I have, and that guy was just looking. That guy drove me crazy, but there's a few, that I don't appreciate their content, but I haven't unfollowed them because we're friends, and I'm just like, okay, just blow it off. You can just skim past theirs. You don't have to listen. And but she obviously listened to one of mine the other day. And it's crazy too, is because when, most people don't just use their name, and I just use my real name, my real self. I don't use avatars and filters, and I just, be me. And put myself out there as myself, trying to unmask myself as much as possible and appreciate and accept myself. And so, uh, it was just the other day, I was showing some sky videos, and it was, I think it was a moon one. No, it was something with the clouds. It was something I was showing with the clouds. But I think it was the moon one too. But anyways, that's what she started in on me on, the clouds. And she would do these condescending, like, LOLs and uh, smug, fucking happy face fella, whatever the fuck. And, well, we could say I was triggered. But it's not like I'm triggered like, oh, I'm going to fall apart, I'm going to change or something like that. It's just like, fuck off with this shit. Like, I don't give a fuck. And I don't know that it's another content creator. I don't know who the hell is saying this shit to me, and I don't always go look and follow back to their account. And so a lot of times I don't have any idea, and I've said this for a long ass time. I have no idea who I'm talking to. And especially, where so many people use usernames, and they don't use their real identity, their real face on their things and stuff. So, so she starts saying something to me, and I was like fucking knocking it, just ending it right quick. And so, I was just like, I don't think I'm the right, channel for you. Like, what are you doing here? Go on. I don't need your nasty comments. People who are still out there trying to give nasty comments, that says about them. And it's just like, oh, it's so yucky. Just go. And it's kind of like a slug leaving its mark. And so, for some reason, I went and looked at her thing, and I saw who it was. I was like, what? Like, aren't you busy with your own content? I do go in and comment on people, and I try and make sure that I'm not going in and commenting or trying to start arguing or something. Like, I think before, a while back in my awakening, I would have gone in, I'll enlighten them, I'll tell them, I'll let them know what's up. And then I started being like, you just kind of grow out of that, where it's like, it's up for everybody's got their own up. Everybody's got their own thing going. So it is like, it's not what's up for me is up for you, So I just started letting go of a lot of stuff. And, even though that's why I'll go and do my own video. Like, I see somebody say something stupid to me, which is just like ridiculous or whatever, then I'll go do my own video. I don't go in and say something nasty to them. And so, but there's still a lot of people who are in that energy, they need to get it, come on, everybody, just listen to me, because I'm the smart one here. If everybody listened to me, we'd all be on the same page, which I get that feeling, all of us who feel like that we can see and understand, we all feel like, well, if everybody could just hear me, then they could see and understand. But see, nobody can see and understand what they can't see and understand. It comes from the inside. And it's why you can sit there all day long trying to show somebody, diagram it, do whatever. It comes from the inside. You can't wake somebody up before they wake up. It is, it's impossible, and it's meant to be impossible. You're not meant to, you're meant to you're meant to grow into you and grow off of them, not control them and force them. And this was such a good point about this is on this little trip, my granddaughter was there, and she was with her fella, and so they got into a thing, and they broke up. When young relationships, a lot of times they break up on every fight. So, I don't know if they really broke up or if it was just, a fight or a break or whatever. But when my daughter told me, I was like, because that was something more what went down this weekend, which, I got more to talk about with it. But so when she broke up, and my daughter told me, I was like, oh man. And she keeps getting such good guys, and then they come and introduce us, and we start liking them. It's like, oh, this is rough, man. And so, there was some more conversations, but the biggest thing is realizing that, none of us, none of the older, your parent, nobody has any control over what that person's doing. Like it is not even to try and direct somebody like who they should be with, what they should do, how they should see things. Well, you should do it this way. Well, you should try and hold on to him. Well, he's a good one. Any of that stuff is not our business. None of it. And that is and I'm not saying anybody was saying that. No, I'm saying that my guides are always giving me more. Like that's where I'm saying, like, situations and things that happen in your life are the presentation for the communication. But you got to get into that groove. And when you're distracted or you're stuck somewhere else, you're stuck in the 3D, you're stuck in trauma, you're stuck in drama, whatever, you're not in this groove. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are spiritual teachers who aren't in that groove. I mean, they don't even have good communication. And I fucking have seen a lot where I'm just like, they don't have good discernment because some of the stuff they're passing on. And so, telling people that they have to be vegan in order to be spiritual, stuff like that is like, that's absurd. So, just them coming up with the rules for who can get close to God. It's like God's inside of each person. You are your own God. You are the one who's deciding. You're deciding about your whole reality. You're deciding what you eat. You decide where you get your energy. You decide your relationship with. It is a process that you are an active member of. It's not for somebody to come in and tell you the rules and then you do it because it's the rules. That's not getting closer to mind, body, spirit. That's not getting closer to the God inside. That's you following the rules. And so when there's spiritual teachers out there giving you rules to follow, it's not the kind of spiritual that I understand. And so the spiritual I understand is a connection to yourself. It is that the tuning in to what's happening and going into this communication with the other beings and your higher mind and stuff. So anyways, that they're always giving me more information. That's why I'm always telling people, you've got to get into communication with them. They're always, all the time, just giving you information, new ways to look at things and stuff. And so, because as a matriarch in a, family dynamic or whatever, you want to think, oh, well, what's best and who should be with who and, how this person, and all this stuff. But it's so much more about reeling it in. The real power is to be able to stand and witness, to observe, to not have to control, to understand that there's a bigger, higher mind in control. And each extension, each wire is wired into each person. They're playing their part. It's not for you to sit and observe or to sit and dictate. Each person has that flight plan. You're not the one who's supposed to be, well, there's a storm over there. We need to go this direction. It's not for us to tell. It's for the person's own barometer to become its own guide. And so it is, when you find yourself ever telling anybody, well, what you should do, well, you should leave him, well, you should stay, well, you should go, you should, any of that stuff, it's not for us to tell. It's none of it. It's like, you can, like even giving that, like that is, like if you go, well, what I would do, do you really need to tell anybody what you would do unless they're asking? No, you don't. It's not a competition. Doesn't matter what you would do. You're not there. You're not walking in their shoes. They need to decide what they're going to do. You don't need to confuse them. And if they ask, well, what would you do? Then, always be honest. Always be honest with who you are and what you would do, but don't ever think that what you would do is anything what somebody else should do, because you're not on the same path. You're there for different lessons. And so many of our lessons are about learning how to not control others. And so many people, that's a big one. We find loopholes and ways to control others. I mean, so many people are dependent on others controlling them. So it's a big step, for us to let go of control and also stand there without being controlled. It's very uncomfortable. There's a lot of people who, they go from being in toxic relationships as a child. They grow up in toxic relationships and they absolutely just naturally fall into the same kind of patterns. And then you go and you put them into a relationship that's not toxic. They're so uncomfortable. And, that uncomfortable is an opportunity to grow, but it is an uncomfortable thing because you're always waiting for the, what is that? It's not waiting for the sock to fall. That would just be a little soft cushion. Waiting for the rock to drop, waiting for the world to fall. I don't know. Something like that, You're just waiting on the edge of your seat, like something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. And then you can also be super defensive, like everything that somebody else says or does, you take it wrong because you're expecting they must mean it this way. They must mean it that way because it's you. It's the receiver. The receiver is all twisted up. And everything is showing you. There's all sorts of messaging coming at you to show you and give you opportunities. But that's where people start going, well, it's their fault. If they just wouldn't say that to me, I would be fine. It's like, yeah, but if they say that to you and you're not fine, why aren't you fine? Why does somebody else's thoughts or opinions or anything have, a scar on you? It's because there's wounds and you got to go through and then you can heal them. It's weird because the thing that they're showing me is with surgery too. That's the thing. Because we were never supposed to let them cut into us, We were not supposed to let them penetrate this. And look at how much fucking programming it took for them to get us to believe in flesh and blood and to get us to allow them to cut us open and work on what was broken. Instead of us working on what was broken and realizing that the physical aspect that is revealed is the part that we're here to heal. And so many people, it's Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. Give me a pill, give me a surgery, instead of really working on what it is that your soul, your DNA, your aspect of self is representing. Because even in your physicality, in your features and everything is representing who it is, like your soul being that big bubble and being able to come out in all different forms. There's a purpose to the form it comes out in. And there's a purpose to the DNA that it encounters as a part of it to come through different lineage. And that is how we're all so connected, is because of all of that. I mean, this is really, where we think about incest or something like that is really, so sick. But really, as souls, we are so interconnected. We are so interconnected in such a... But see, there's not judgment when you go up like that. You don't look at it like that because it's not real. You're just playing a part. You're not really in this story. That story isn't really who you are. That story is just the aspect of you that is playing out a part. And so it's just the same, what was that? Because I saw, it was a movie. I was watching some old movie yesterday. But what is it? Because I've got two things emerging. This fucking Justin Long and Jonah Hill fucking story. And then also another party thing. Oh, it was... because it was something about kissing. Something in what was coming to me was... just in the movies, how there's, that's what, it was so gross. It was like a 70s movie and the kissing. Oh my God, it's so fucking gross. Oh my God. They've tried some different things through time and movies on the kissing. And that you can watch it evolve. And there's a period of time that was fucking disgusting. And I was thinking, oh my God, how many young actresses have had these old fucking men fucking tonguing him and oh God, I'm so sick. All these actresses, that had to do that in order to have parts and stuff. And then how it even went even further. I mean, now if you're not willing to, show every part of you and have everything penetrated on screen, then I guess you're not working. So it's like, and the people, who will do it, it's like, ugh. It's like, oh God, how dirty would you feel? Ugh, I was paid to be kissed. Ugh, gross. This is where you got to detach. I think a lot of these people just become detached from themselves, detached from their soul, because that is that truth, the hidden truth inside you that will nag at you and tell you, oh, don't do that. Oh, gross. Oh, don't you feel dirty? It's like, that... a lot of those people just start drinking, doing drugs. Like, shut up. But Justin and Jonah, and being a young girl who a lot of older guys wanted to be around, I, completely, it just disgusts me. These young actors that, when they were, I don't know, I guess kind of at their peak. I guess that is kind of like, even when they kept going. I mean, they were at their peak of really, I mean, they have their fans now, people who have stayed with them or whatever. But when they were at their like, oh, look at this new guy, he's so funny, all those guys. And so they all were like friends or something, and they'd have parties. And they just like to invite a lot of young girls, and you could just hear the conversation, These, I mean, they just show this shit in movies. It's not funny. It's not good to laugh at this shit. These old fucking guys. If you are fucking out of high school, you shouldn't be fishing in the pond. Like, for real. Like, even seniors are disgusted by 8th graders. Like, what in the holy hell is wrong with you people? Like, here, I'm going to take a blank slate and I'm going to go cram my dick in it. Like, oh, God, these people are so warped. And so, and I'm not just saying actors, I'm just saying people who are predatory over other souls, who just want to control and overcome. It's very, nothing can happen with that. It's not meant to happen. So every soul group, I've seen so many cool things playing out lately where you can see the soul stuff that is going on. So, all those things, but, it's real, like the people really come in to play those parts. And so, it's not like I can be judgmental and say, well, it's just them, they're the horrible person, but it's the act. It's the act that, we're supposed to be outraged by it. We don't have to hate the player, but, the players are playing the part, and the humiliation, the anger, all the things that they're going through is part of their growth. So we have to also play the part of being outraged and disgusted. So it's a whole thing. But so I'm going to be outraged and disgusted. And so these guys, thinking that, when you're 25 or 26, well, why spend money going on a date? Just fucking invite a bunch of high school girls who want to sit there and think, oh my gosh, you're famous, and do whatever you say, do whatever you ask, and think they have a shot with you because, of course, they're a blank slate, and they think what you're saying is true, so they're going to believe you. That's predator. And that was, during that period of time, it wasn't just them. It was an energy that was very strong on the planet. So it wasn't just happening in Hollywood. It was happening everywhere. But, it's part of the show, the reveal. And that is where a lot of people, like during the reveal, there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to remember back to them being a predator, them being at a party and, seeing a high school girl and thinking, oh, hell yeah, And there's a lot of guys back in the day who were forcing themselves on girls. Those are dark sides of themselves they're going to have to face. That's the shame. And you can go to church all fucking day long. You can sit there and think Jesus is going to take that away from you. It doesn't happen. You got to heal it. You got to let go of shame yourself. Jesus can't take it away from you. Nobody can. And all these people sitting there just piling up their fucking bags, waiting for Jesus. Jesus, come and take me. Got a lot of bags here. Got a lot of shit to deal with. It's like, when my mom says, oh, I guess you think you're not a sinner. No, I just have a way different approach to sin. I have a way different way of looking at it. And I don't see it as somebody else's responsibility. I see it as my responsibility. I understand a universal law a lot more than a lot of people do. Then, there's a balancing. You don't get to just create chaos and then go home at the end of the day. No, you have to put order back in. And when a soul comes in and plays a part like that, that is it's a big part to play. So, and I wanted to talk about the camping thing. So, we went to the thing and it was wild and it was an experience and all that. And I got to meet this cool guy, and I got to have really cool conversation with my son-in-law, and his friend. And, those things are the things like I live for. It's just like, oh my God, what a blessing. An experience, something to remember, a memory that's created, an experience, and then also an opportunity to express and converse with another person on a deeper level. I'm so sick of people in this shallow shit that they want to talk about. But what do? I stay more in isolation because I'm not into shallow shit. And but when I'm seeing it on social media, people are going deeper. People are things are changing 100%. But so anyways, when we had gotten up and it was raining, and my one daughter, she was like, I'm out, and she was going. And so then my other daughter was like, well, we're gonna go too because it's just raining and it's noisy. We may go look for another place. And but then when I was talking to them, they were like, well, we went and looked for some other places, but we didn't really find some. But it got more serious, I guess, because when I left, everybody was leaving. I just went ahead and went because I had a long drive ahead of me. And so when I understood, everybody else was leaving, but they didn't. And so they stayed the whole night, and they were there a big party yesterday. And so it was so crazy because when my older daughter had said, when my daughter is going to be home, I was like, she's still staying out there with them. I'm sure they're going to be there in a while, though, because it was raining. They were going to be leaving. They were just staying to barbecue. And so then when they didn't come, I was thinking, well, what happened? Did they start the barbecue? And then they started making friends because everybody's like, because the woman who was coming to barbecue, she was a really good cook, and she had all this carne asada she was going to start cooking out there. And I'm telling you, there's a big party out there. So anyways, I just kept all day yesterday, and there's no way you can't communicate. And my daughter didn't know. She just kept wondering where her daughter was. And so I was, so it was crazy. Is I guess for one thing, that Lionsgate portal was really yesterday or something, depending on the calendar you use. So whatever, we'd have to really be able to read the planets and understand alignments and stuff like that. Oh, my hair is driving me crazy. And so but so I was feeling so emotional. Even this morning, that's why I had to start. I saw this silly little video of just a little brother with his new little baby sister. And I was crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so emotional. And so yesterday I was feeling super emotional, and I wasn't crying, but it was I kept feeling all this emotion in me. And I was like, this is so weird because, I am not even sure what I'm feeling. And I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I know that you're always where you're supposed to be. But it kept eating at me and eating at me like, oh my God, I would have stayed. Man, I would have stayed. Wonder what they're doing. That would have been so fun. So I kept having that. That was like eating at me and eating at me, and so I kept having to, that's where you have these conversations. It's not just you talking to yourself. You're having conversations when, it's at every different point, I guess, for different people to realize and to me, it always is, start asking questions you don't know the answers to, and then start trying to figure out who's answering you. And so, anyways, when they are, when I'm having an emotional thing, I'm just like talking to them. And, the overall thing kept being, that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. It's like you just got to process that because you're where you're supposed to be. And it was like, like, I don't know, maybe something was going to be really weird with the drive today. Maybe it was something an interaction that had to happen with somebody else that I wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe it was that I came home and did that video and it's just like so crazy, of course, every time there's a video where it starts going like that, then it's like that when I have wet hair, I'm just a total wreck. It's always like that. Or I'm coming in and I'm just saying something just weird and random because because I've been doing this now a while. It feels like a long while. And having relationships with the people who I talk to. So I feel like I'm just talking to my friends. And so I'll go in and just start talking. And then when it starts going, I'll be like, oh my gosh, these people even know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, my hair was all wet. I bet I look really silly. Other people don't know me all the way. And so anyways, that stuff plays in your mind too. So I had that stuff going in my mind. And then it was like, okay, so was I supposed to just come home and do that video? Like, was it something about that? Like, everything is so much the way it's supposed to be. And it's like the questioning is the process. But, in everything, there was no, is your lesson that, you rushed too quick. You could have stayed longer. You don't know the whole thing. I don't know what my whole thing is from that whole process, but it was a definite process that I was experiencing, that I was having to go throughout the day, of like them still being there and me being home when I had, I'd cooked all that food. I had driven all that ways. I was really planned on staying, for a whole weekend for the camp out. And I was disappointed to be going home, but everybody else was going home. I wasn't going to stay there till the last second and then have to drive through the mountains in the dark and the rain. And so, anyways, it's, what happens, happens. And sometimes things don't make any sense. And one of the big lessons I had learned about this was like back in 93. And it was when I was moving to Washington State. And we were leaving Southern California. And a big thing about moving up to Spokane was the price of the houses. There were houses that were being sold for anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000. And so leaving Southern California, my brother had just bought a house for $185,000, which seemed outrageous. It was like, oh my God, that is so much money, which, he ended up a few years back selling it for $750,000, and then bought this other house for $1 million that was a fixer-upper or something. So, increased his money huge, because you're playing with big money there in the housing and real estate. But, it takes a lot back then, like, for them to get in, it was like down payment, credit and stuff, just like now. But I couldn't afford that. Like, I was a tattoo artist, so I was working at the table. I didn't even have credit. And the person I got married to was making swimming pools. And he was in the union, but He wasn't into, he was like a beach bum personality kind of, and didn't care about stuff like that. Like, he's the guy who's the farmer now, who just lives, he made an apartment out in a barn and just lives, and just, that's all he wanted to do, was just be a part of growing things. Always, like, it's always been his thing. And he's got a big old farm now that's like, sometimes what you want can take you over. But if it's what you enjoy, then it's what you enjoy. But being around my mom, like, with all her cats, she was definitely like, I said, well, would you do it again? And she said, well, I'd have way less. It's like, because it becomes you're their slave. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm fucking Stella's slave. But anyways, so when we left Southern California, we got some money. He had borrowed some money from his sister, and we were going to go up to Spokane and buy a house for cash. And so we moved up there, and we started looking for houses. And it was a fucking nightmare, like what people have been going through now. Like, I was already going through that. Like, I already was seeing, like, the real estate. I was seeing through things, because it always is that they are always expanding my view of things. They are always telling me more. I'm always seeing more. But then when you say things that people don't see, because somebody's telling you, they think you're crazy. So there's a lot of things that other people don't see. So you can say things and people don't see it, even if you can see it clearly. But I could see the corruption with the real estate. Then they were selling houses. It was such bullshit, because they were telling us we had to go drive past the house and look at it. We weren't allowed to just set up appointments and say, we want to go see this house, and stuff. No, you had to go drive past the house when it got listed. So you would get the list in the morning. They would put out the list of the houses available. You would go get the list. You would go drive past the house. You get there, immediately call and say, we want to get in and we want to see this house. Oh, there's already a pending offer. How is there a pending offer when you have to go in and see the house? Well, if you're an investor, you don't have to go in and see anything. You don't have to do shit. You just go wait for the list to come out and then buy all the cheap houses. And so those of us who were looking for housing, we were just running into obstacle, while all the market was so cheap. They bought all the houses and they jacked them up. And so when we were out, it was the most frustrating month of my life. I couldn't believe, I was going home crying every day. I could not believe it. And there was this one house that we got to. I remember it was on this road called Boone. I know exactly where the house is. I've seen it so many times ever since. And the other houses I went and looked at, I wouldn't remember at all. This house I always remembered. And it was fucking so cool. It had this round door. It's like this old wood door. It was so, this house was so fucking cool. It was so old. All the houses were so old fashioned. And it was, I loved it. And I wanted it so bad. And I don't remember, because we got to go into that one. So I don't remember if it was how it went. But so I tried to make an offer, and they, it was like, no, we didn't get it. And so I don't remember how it went, if it was already the investors got it or whatever. But whatever it was, it really devastated me. I was so upset, because I'd finally got in to see this one. I loved it. It was perfect. And, it was just like my ideal. And then I didn't get it. And I was just so upset and so devastated. And then it was like, I think it was like a couple years later on the news that the guy a couple houses down from that house was busted for, the Chimo stuff. And so there's so many times, like, to me, it was so clear why I didn't get that house when I saw that news report. I was moving in, I was pregnant. I had 2 little girls, pregnant with another one. And I ended up having 4 girls. And I'm living next to somebody who, was getting busted for that. Like, that would have been, he was probably getting all those kids in that neighborhood. I lived in neighborhoods like that. And, that was my first, besides my dad always trying to seduce me and, uh, the first person who actually molested me, touched me, was, I was at 13 years old. And that guy, I've told this story before because it was so weird. I remember his name, David Hall. I remember his big old truck. I remember he looked like Lurch. He was so fucking huge. And I was pretty tall. I was 13 and I was 5'2", but real skinny. I have one granddaughter who's so similar to my body. It's so funny when you see like one of your kids or grandkids, and you can see yourself as like, oh my gosh, I was so awkward. But, your awkwardness is still cute. Like, it is just funny when you can get that perspective to see yourself. Because so much through our lives, we have no idea what we appear to other people, how we look, what we, our size, nothing. And so it's very confusing to figure out who and what you are inside this thing, because you're not this thing that you see in the mirror. You're something else. And so his place is very confusing. And so, anyways, what was I going to say? Because I keep being stuck on that house on Boone. And, see, now it would have been protection. My guides were protecting me from being, and that is what so many, you got to see, even when it's something you want so bad, that job, that fella, that girl, something you want so, so bad. And, but it's not for you. And so your desires don't always match your destiny. Your desires can, it is like there's a separation. You create your desires. You create your expectations. You create your desires. You create, what the things you think that you need, your wants and stuff. And then here where a lot of people base it on what other people have or what other people say is good or what other people think or what I could get. I could be pleasing if, I just bought that pair of jeans, then, my butt would look better and all the guys would like me. Girls just get, guys too, everybody just gets in these things in their minds trying to get something that's not theirs. And, that's a frustration. Why do you want something that's not yours and what do you do with it? And so, but there was something else I wanted to say about the, I can't remember what it was. But there's something that I wanted to say and it keeps being right there, but I can't see it. That drives me crazy. It's like when I fall off of it. To me, it's like I always try and go off of it myself. But then sometimes it's really hard to get back on it. So, but anyways, so yesterday I was going through all of this big, this weird emotional thing where I'm like, yeah, but why do I feel so bad? Why do I feel like I've missed out? Why do I feel like I made the wrong decision? Why does it feel like, where I'm supposed to be doesn't feel like it's where I'm supposed to be? All of those kind of battle. And then I had seen where it was that, portal energy or whatever, and there was all this other energy or whatever. And so when I was talking to my daughter, I even said, man, I feel so weird. And she said that I feel so weird too. And I said, okay, it's got to just be the energy. It just can make you, it's like whatever you're feeling, it can make it like more intense. So however you're feeling, it can feel more intense, like a teenager on hormones or something, where it feels like, oh my God, it feels like so heavy and so much. But, just keep perspective, Don't get burdened down by your feelings or what you think is supposed to happen, or like thinking that you missed out or thinking you made the wrong decision. You never make the wrong decision. Even if you make a decision that later you would, you do something different, you still made the right decision. Because even if it is for a lesson, even if it is for, even if I was there and I'd stayed 2 more hours, I would have still probably been leaving. Like, I don't know when it was they decided, but they moved camps. So they moved camps, and most of the people left, but there was still a bunch of people, and they had a really good time. And my daughter said, now they have a great place for us to go. Like, it's really private, and it was really nice. So I said, well, hopefully before the end of summer, because I really did want to do that. And it was really fun getting to talk to somebody about spiritual stuff, getting to talk about deep stuff, people who awaken, get so excited, about this whole spirit, people who are awakening to their spiritual side too. And the person I was getting to talk to, they were leaving the church. They were raised Jehovah's Witness, I'm pretty sure that that they had said, but they were raised super religious, and their parents are still super religious. So their parents won't talk to them now once they started pointing out things, because once you realize, like, the people are living by God, not by God's law, they're living by man's law. And once you start realizing the people who are making the laws are all a bunch of fucking deviants, man, I swear to God, it's hard to even find a movie to even watch anymore that doesn't have some fucking pervert in it. Like, all these people, like, that we used to like a long time ago, like, I used to like Robert De Niro. I used to like Tom Hanks. And, I get, well, Tom Hanks, I mean, he's born into it. There's nothing, he's an Ellen. Like, a lot of these people are from that bloodline. They don't have any choice. They have to go out and penetrate society in some kind of idealistic way to mislead us. And oh yeah, because I was watching this movie yesterday, and it was what was it? It was about a kid who had murdered a girl, his girl that he liked, and by accident they got into a fight, and they had a tire iron, and so they're fighting, and she tried to hit him with it, so he grabbed it and was like struggling back and forth. And this girl was bigger than him. I mean, he was a scrawny teenage boy, and she looked like an athletic girl. And so it was like a real, like, fight for this thing. And then whatever, something gave way, and she got hit. When she got hit, it knocked her, and then she turned and she fell on the jack and just hit it just right. That right there is like a total, that is soul shit. Like, all our story, there's so much stuff, like, that stuff is on repeat in people's lives, and they just don't get, like, it was probably the last time, he was the one who was knocked. Especially when the ones get into these physical altercations and they get this point of anger and stuff, that it's like a repeat. It's like Groundhog Day for these souls. They just go in and they just keep killing each other. And so much of that goes on. And you just go read a lot of reincarnation stuff or QHHT stuff or whatever, and you see, like, these patterns that these souls, that it's breaking the pattern and seeing for yourself, is getting control of yourself. That's the whole purpose. And so but then the dad was covering up the crime. And so, and the mom, it had, let's see, that was Furlong, I think as a kid. Is that guy's name Edward Furlong or something like that? And then the dad was that guy. He was in that movie Taken. Can't remember. He's always in action movies. And then the woman, the mom, was Meryl Streep. I have such a hard time watching her anymore. This is a really old movie. Like, there's so many old movies I won't watch because she's in it. And in this one I did watch. And, you know, and I don't know if she's a bloodline person. I don't know if she was just a girl who just was so desperate to make it. I don't know. She's a fucking clone. What was that one I saw? Oh, yeah. Fucking, the Margot Robbie. For one thing, she looks so much like Jane. What was that girl's name from, What About Earl? Was that girl's name Jamie? I don't, it's not Jamie Kennedy. Jamie, I don't know what her name is. It seems like it's a Jamie. But she was in What About Earl? And then she and Margot Robbie look like fucking twins. And that is like where, you know, to me, I don't know. It's just a little too weird. And so, and you don't even know, like, if her name is Jamie, if Jamie is the original. And they take some of her DNA and then build another one and then give that person a past memory and stick them in a family and tell them that that's who they are, but really they're just another lab created version of a new idol. And so I don't know. It's weird how they keep making these ones that just are so identical. It'd be cool if we could see like DNA of all these different people and see if they're all really the same fucking person, the same nucleus. It is a bunch of different people, which the nucleus could come all the way back from fucking 1700s for all we fucking know. The way these people keep going on our organs and shit, our energy. Fuck. So, so I guess now Margot is on the hot seat. I guess probably too many people said she was pretty or something from being in the movie Barbie, or just being in the movie Barbie, I guess, gets you to be dissected by people who aren't in movies. I'm not really sure. But some guy on Twitter apparently said she was like a mid, which I don't even know what a mid is. But then they said she's a 7 at best. So I don't even know. Like, when I first started hearing cis, I didn't even know what that was. These words that they come up with, you know, I don't fucking know. But so obviously they're trying to say, you know, she's not that pretty. Find prettier girls then. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you got to try and categorize us and like, what the fuck? And then you're going to take a girl who's super pretty and then minimize her into just being average. It's like, well, then what are you saying to all the girls who completely feel average or completely feel homely? You're just, you know, fuck, you're bottom of the barrel, sister, because, you know, they're taking the pretty girls now and they're just minimizing them down. I guess, you know, in order to be super attractive, you got to be AI, you got to be a CGI. Oh, yeah, this person the other day, I said something about, you know, we don't even know, you know, most of us have souls, but I mean, the clones don't, the CGIs don't. And this person comes into my comments and goes, I don't think you know what a CGI is. A CGI is a computer generated image on a movie. And then starts like, you know, with their smug LOL, haha, you know, like you're an idiot. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I don't know what a CGI is. I said, I think you don't know what the hell's going on in this world. No, I didn't say that. I wasn't that rude. But it's like, you need to pay better attention. Like, if they're creating idols. Like, you know, there is definitely CGI people who people think are real. And then when you've got sentient AI, like, all it depends is on the energy form. There's conscious energy and there's unconscious energy. conscious energy, like they're constantly trying to trap conscious energy. I'm sure they've got conscious energy trapped in some black boxes. I'm sure they've fucking got conscious energy and they're trying to turn it into computers. They're trying to turn people into computers. I saw a video of a girl all excited because she went and paid with her hand. It's like, you fool, you fool, you fool. But so they're, now ridiculing Margot Robbie as not being attractive enough. And she, this guy who called her a mid-7 or some bullshit, got like 38 million likes or views or something on his tweet. I think it's a tweet. And it's like, fucking hell with this shallow shit, people. Like, what in the holy hell? Like, people are so goddamn shallow. Like, that is not going to be the wave of the future. Is thinking that something matters about what somebody looks like is not going to be the way of the future. It is, for one thing, the presentation of what somebody looks like is what they're here to work on. It's how they're presenting themselves. And it's how they're representing themselves through their perspective. Just like having, a certain nose type is a certain tribe, a certain group. And so everything is, your looks isn't about, it's not a measure thing for who the person is, the person's content or anything. It is such a shallow and insignificant thing. And, I find completely unattractive people just as alluring as completely attractive people, because it's what is your eyes want to see. And a lot of times your eyes want to see things that aren't all perfect and matchy, it's looking for things of interest. And so, I feel like I learned this in high school, like about, there can be a real pretty girl, but what's inside is rotten. So, I've just never thought somebody has more value because of how they looked. But I know a lot of people who do. A lot of people. Like, a lot of people are very, very physically drawn. Like, that, they would be physically drawn to somebody's looks and then probably put up with a lot of bullshit just because they liked how they looked. I just have not been like that. I've always been, most of the time, my mom especially, like, we just had this conversation the other day. I never saw what you saw in them. You always pick the most unattractive people. It's like, but I'm not picking them over what they look like. I'm picking them over who they are, who I think they are. There's just a lot of people who will pretend to be somebody else instead of being themselves, especially if they want to be in your orbit. Then they can pretend to be something that you want them to be, but that's not really who they are. But you don't find out because, it takes time to see that. But I was with some people who were very good looking to other people, where other people were just constantly talking about their looks. Like my one husband that I raised the kids with, like the teachers, oh my gosh, every fucking thing we would go to. Like girls would start giggling and looking away. And like he knew, like was single till he was 36. He knew he didn't have any problem with the ladies. But anyways, it's just weird when you get together with somebody who women act like that towards. And, but, I've been with a few guys, but my mom has always been like, they're so ugly. They're ugly. They're ugly. They're ugly. Be like, Mom, how do you not see? Like, but she's definitely one of those people who is very looks probably show more of the true characters. Like, no, it's not at all like that. But anyways, but not to say, people who are not attractive, they can be just as rotten as people who are attractive and take advantage of their attractiveness. So, there's rotten in everything. It's not, you can't just say, oh, well, just because somebody is not attractive, they're going to be a good person. No, they can be just as troubled as somebody who's super attractive. Just looks have nothing to do. Like, you've got to get to know the person. But so many people want to put on a fake persona. And how do you get to know a person when they're all just out there they're all trying to get likes? So, but we have to get into a world where people see, like, no, I want to be around people who I'm in alignment with. I want to have joy in my life. I want to be around people who get me and I get them. And, we've just, before it would have been like, well, I want to be with all the attractive people. That's going to give me value. Then people will see me as having value. But that's an artificial, superficial world that we don't want to participate in, because now, hopefully, you've seen through the illusion. You've seen through enough attractive people to see, like, it isn't something you can generalize. People who are attractive doesn't mean they're a good person. But to attack somebody over their looks shows more about the person, the attacker. Like, these people. And what was even so absurd is the guy who is sitting there talking smack down on fucking Robbie. I would not even consider, like, if we're going to go numbers, dude, I wouldn't even consider you a 4. And you're going to sit there and put down a 7? Like, these people with their fucking, who want to get into this labels and minimizing people down to that, take a person and just put them down to just a number, just to a look of what they look like or something. That is so superficial. God, that is, oh my God, I can't. And that is, to me, something that is just really being exposed, is people's own shallowness. Like, it's gross. Like, when you see it, it's just gross. And so, yeah, this guy who's not attractive by our, common sense, like, not common, but our general, like, if you have a group of 6 women sitting in the bar at a table and we're going around, oh, he's cute, he's not cute, this guy would definitely be one that we would say is not cute. And, the consensus would be, the ones who would be where we would all be like, oh my God, he's so cute, is a guy who, a lot of guys with hair on their face, I swear, a guy with hair on his face can get a girl a lot easier than a guy who's clean shaven. And there's just something more manly about it, or something that is more of that. Some women only want clean shaven guys, but there's another thing, there could be some girls listening to me who would be like, I'm not like that at all, and I do not want any hair. I don't want that itchiness on my face. I don't want that burn. Everybody has their own thing. But for the overall general thing, when you see guys in a bar or in the lineup or whatever, and you're looking at all the guys, and girls are gravitating towards who they think is cute, bet your ass that the guys who have hair on their face are going to probably be taken before the guys who don't have hair on their face. There's just something about the clean shaven look that gives there's like a more uptightness about it, a more there's just a more manly thing about, yeah, I got hair on my face. And so a lot of women are drawn to men who have hair on their face. And this guy was clean shaven. But, and there's certain things that guys are very drawn to. Like, I know guys are drawn to long hair. Like, that's one thing. When a girl, like, all these girls that want to go and cut all their hair off because it's liberating or something. But, you're going to be less attractive to most guys. Most guys, I'm not saying every single one, most guys uh, prefer women who have hair, attractive hair, long hair, or something. It's just a thing. Just like most guys are attracted to younger uh, women, supposedly for that kind of breeding thing or something. You know, more women are attracted to guys who are more masculine, because it gives that sense of protection of, he'll build me a house, he'll take care of me kind of thing. Like we have certain things that are like a natural thing, which is probably comes from our DNA too, of what is a part of our existence throughout different times and different possibilities in eras and stuff like that. So, or ages or whatever. So, and I mean, shaving is a new thing. So, most of our relationships probably have been with people who were hairy because, you know, through this time, we don't know about, I don't know. Like, if you went all the way back to like Caesar and stuff, like, or was everybody else hairy, and then Caesar, like the kings or the royalty, they were shaven, so they didn't have hair on their face, and so then the people would be like, well, I don't want hair on my face, I want to be all uppity, I want to be all bougie like the guy who gets shaved. And then but it's upkeep, and so I don't think those trends, like it would still be, you didn't have the money or something. And so I think, hairy men and women who were not all kept or whatever, because it is more of that natural kind of draw, you know. Like I've heard tons and tons of men, they like women when they just woke up and their hair's all messy and they don't have makeup on, and they find women the most attractive then. Well, you would think, like, in your deepest part of your soul, that's the more natural state of being, that this artificial weird thing, like there's women who can get up early and go in and put on their makeup before their husbands get up. Like, there's women who put so much makeup on, and to me, they're just hiding themselves because it's an insecurity. Yeah, you may look much better with the makeup, but what does that say? What does it say? And you just put in 2 hours of time. And does it really say anything more about you? Do you really need more attention? Do you need more guys coming over to harass you? Does that make your day better? If you go out and you got your makeup on, and so you get more guys' attention, maybe even some women's attention. I was walking through the grocery store, and this woman, I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure. I mean, she had the characteristics of a woman who likes women. And I walked past her, and she like stumbled, like, just like, so it's not just men, who are out there, everybody, if you see somebody who you find attractive or whatever, we'll all kind of be stumbly or whatever. But why was I even saying that? That just popped into my head when I was saying about the other thing. But it's so fucking shallow with the oh yeah, because at the back of the store, it was a really good looking guy who was working. He seemed a little older, really good looking guy. And he had a beard. He was like that real popular look of guys. Where was I? Yeah, I was in Yakima. And so he was very good looking. And there was a younger girl back there working. And they were both back in the produce, cheese kind of area, right? And she's working, and you just hear talking and talking and talking to him, and he's talking to her. And I was just thinking, like, that's real. That's real. Like, a girl to go into the grocery store and see this guy and be like, oh, he's hot, and flirt with him. That is superficial. That is so fucking shallow. This young girl who gets, to get to know this guy and get to see him on a deeper, and have him get to know her. That is building a relationship. And I don't know if they're, the guy could be married or whatever. and he could be completely off on age. I would imagine this girl probably still had a big crush on him, as I'm sure he's like the good-looking guy at work. And but the depth of conversation when these people who come into your life that you have opportunities to actually get to know, it isn't like you go out, you see somebody, oh, they look good, so I'm just going to go after them. That is so fucking superficial. It's so shallow, and it's so full, jam-packed full of lessons, and you can see why. And so it's people have to see for themselves that the people who you're meant to interact with will come into your orbit. They'll come into your life somehow. They will just slide right through, and you'll see them. They'll just come in. And then, it's up to you what you do with it. I mean, like that girl at the grocery store, she's sitting there talking to them. They could be building a real relationship. They could be building a really true friendship that, takes the test of time. This could be her person, and this is how they met. And they were always back there stalking together and really got to know each other and found that they had so much in common. And, building this relationship rather than just, for one thing, a lot of good looking guys just go sleep around and think that they're going to find joy or fulfillment in that. And that's an empty. You're going to feel lonelier and lonelier and lonelier, and you're going to have a harder time connecting to other people, and you're not even connecting to yourself. It's like, it's kind of gluttony. And so there's so many toxic behaviors that people can choose. There's so much darkness available, and people, they've got to choose this stuff for themselves. That's what this whole thing is all about, is you making better choices for you and seeing through the games, through the illusions, and, connecting to yourself so that you do have the discernment and, the communication and the guidance and stuff like that. There's so many people that are just so stuck in this shallow fucking world. And I just hear him talking and stuff. Like, people out there like, well, does anybody want to go out with somebody who is, starts, putting their stuff out there? And it's like, that is not how you have to find somebody. You don't have to go and just take whoever comes your way. There's so many people in relationships because it was the first person who was nice to them. It's like, you've got to set your standards up higher. You got to trust and know that there's a lot of nice people. You're here to learn. You're here to grow. You're here to learn to love yourself, because when you love yourself, then you'll find you won't be around people who won't treat you nice. Then you'll find there's a lot of people who will treat you nice. And so it's you raising the bar for you. You don't just have to go and take the first person who's nice to you and think like that's all you got. It's just there's just so much low self-esteem in people. And then they just want to tear down other people, like sitting there, ridiculing Margot Robbie over her looks when she's such an attractive person. And, I don't know her on the inside, but, she's very pretty on the outside. And to ridicule and say that, it's just like, and it's so just ridiculous. And it hurts other people. Besides being just a direct weapon towards the person you're attacking, it hurts all the other people. All the people that thought they were sevens, who thought Margot Robbie was a 10. And then you just slap them just straight across the face, and now you've moved them down to 3 or 4. And it's like, that is right there. That guy's listening to darkness. He's not doing something better for the world, saying stuff like that. But he's also playing a part to purge out darkness, because he really is doing something better for the world. Because if he wasn't doing that, we wouldn't be able to look at it and be so outraged and disgusted. We have to see these sides of humanity. We have to see these sides of what we've become. And there's a lot of people out representing it, but that doesn't mean that that's who that guy is on his core. He's just playing a part, just like all these people. But they're all the part. It's weird. It's because they are the part, but they're not really the part. So it's not like you can, that's why judgment makes no sense. We can't judge a person because they're not really that. That's not really who they are. They're just here playing that part. So to make the movie, the story interesting, to make it have value, to make it have sense, to have substance. You can't just have the storyline just be all good and fairy dust and stuff. That's a different realm. In this realm, we've got to have the bad players. It's the bad players that got to be there, so we have good players and bad players, so that we can, we're picking teams, and people just don't realize how many people, just pick the darkness. So many, like, where so much darkness is being purged out of our society. And so, that shallowness and bringing somebody down to a number over what they look like. I remember when the number system started, it was kind of like all fun and games a little bit there for a while. Like, oh yeah, because it was during that movie 10. Oh yeah, and of course there was that person who, when I was a teenager, who they kept comparing me to. And so it started the number system. And then when they're saying she's a 10 and I feel like I'm a 2, and then you have all these people who constantly want to fucking talk. The whole fucking thing, it's all so absurd. It's so ridiculous. And, we've got to do better. We've got to be more. We've got to be deeper. The higher mind, the connection to self, the going in deeper, because the higher mind is not going, the higher mind is not going to look at it in the same shallow way as these other people, whatever. I don't even know if it was 38 million people. Maybe it was a lot of people who went in and said mean things to him. I don't know. It is just, I don't know. All of this stuff is just so much. It just keeps getting purged out. And, and this is like the birth of the divine feminine, and the divine feminine is coming out of the ash because it has been so reduced for so long. It has been under, the controller's thumb for a long ass time. But this is our time now. This is the divine feminine. This is that nurturing energy, the love energy, all of that, and that's why, we have to play our parts. We have to say, that's not okay. That's not right. You can't minimize us to a number. I love this trans person right now who is out there and keeps saying, claiming, they're not a man and they're not a woman. They're trans. They're a trans person. And it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing when somebody can say what they are and not feel shame and not feel like they have to be something different. You are who you are. You are, the choices you make, and you are more comfortable representing yourself as a female, and, you needed to have some parts or hormones or whatever to get you into that position of feeling comfortable, then that is your thing. And then if you have health problems from it or whatever, that's your consequence. Like, everybody gets choices to figure out who and what they are. And so there's nothing wrong with anybody doing anything. The thing that's wrong is the agenda, them pushing it on kids, because that is that predatory energy that you're not supposed to be overriding other people. They're manipulating kids, and because they have an agenda. They want their droids. They want their easily controlled, shallow people who will, work hard for nothing. So, and don't know how to take care of themselves and are proud of it. Well, I don't know how to cook, thank God. And so, it's just so weird. in this world, how there's just like all these women who don't know how to do anything, and they think they're bringing something to the relationship because they're bringing a vagina. Well, you can even go down and pay and get a vagina. Like, it's not something, like to just be like, that's all I got to offer. It's like, you want this person to take care of you and give you everything in the world, but you got nothing to offer. You don't know how to cook, you don't know how to sew, you don't know how to clean, you don't know how to take care of a house, you don't know, like, it used to be like a thing. Like, even women back in the day who were the ones who were taking care of the house, it was such a big thing, they'd even have to hire people for helping them clean, hire people for helping them get other things done. Like, it's a big thing to run a household properly. To we've just become so reliant on corporate overlords. Just run down to the store, buy some fucking computer generated food, something grown in a lab, or some gross ass shit. So, like, plastic food, or or manage a household where you're growing food and canning, and like, there's a lot to do. There's gonna be the whole thing is like, we're not going back in time to that. Like, it's more of to me, it's more of the transition of the recognition that, I can take care of myself. I don't need them to take care of me. The people from the past took care of themselves. I can take care of myself. And learning how to take care of ourselves, learning that sovereignty, learning that independence. But the wave of the future is going to be all high technology. And I think that there's a huge significance to the fact that we're going to start to understand that we're not flesh and blood, that we are like a hologram or something. We can't be hurt and killed like we thought. It is like cutting into a robot or something. Like, they're not supposed to be interfering that way, but that is how complex that we are, that they can tell us that they've got to do something and do it, just like making us sick and stuff. It's so crazy. But anyways, so I think as the wave of the future, there's going to be different ways that we eat or get energy. Like, it's not going to be at all the same. I think even in the future, there's going to be like 3D print, like, it's going to be like the Jetsons, like, you can go up and push a button and a pill will come out, and the pill will taste like a fucking Thanksgiving or something. I think there'll be that. But also, to me, the Brethren people, I think that's what they're called. That is a big thing to me, is understanding that we don't need to take in energy how we think, how they tell us, So I think the more people who start to understand that and start understanding themselves on that kind of energetic level, and that they don't need to consume other beings' energy, like in meat, and they don't need to even anything growing is energy. It takes energy to grow. So everything growing is living. It's alive. It may not be conscious, but it is conscious on a certain level. It may not, because it can communicate. Like the trees, the plants, we're in communication with all these things all the time. There's like levels of consciousness, like, because you can see, like, we have people around us who are conscious, but they're not to the same level of consciousness. And so, but there's so many trippy things about plants, like those studies where, like, the plant would know what was about to happen. It would start reacting like it had already happened, but it hadn't even happened yet, and how it feels like if you heard it and stuff. Like, I don't remember name of the guy who did those studies, and I don't remember how it got started on the studies, because it seemed like he was trying to check something else, but then found something else, so started going towards that direction of it was something with the plants, hooking them up to a thing and seeing their reactions on like a lie detector test or something. And like you could hear, or that they would make the thing like they were screaming, like, and they would know before something happened. Like, it's very interesting. So consciousness, like, they're like, you could have a level like the deers and stuff, like a natural consciousness that could being but it is like we are in a conscious state of like what we consider to be gods, because we're learning to control our environment. Like a deer, a plant, or whatever, it doesn't see that it has control over its environment. But those of us that conscious awareness is coming, then we're seeing we have control over. So therefore, then we move more into like creator, into like a God type energy, compared to an energy that doesn't see that it has any control. And that, to me, is like what's happening right now, even with the people who aren't awake, that they just don't see like their part. Even how much manipulation goes in about manifesting and stuff like that. Like, I still see all that shit where people think like manifesting is not what they are telling you. Manifesting is not like what they say. Manifesting is, it's following your path to where it is you're supposed to be going. Like, they'll tell you. And to me, they're going to tell you something that's going to seem far out. And then, it's up to you if you believe it and you work towards it. That is you manifesting what you want because you believe it and you're working towards it. And I think there is more people. If you go in and watch some of these tarot things, like on TikTok, sometimes it's just tarot person after tarot person after tarot person. And I've been getting the same message for so fucking long. It's just irritating. But I just don't even want to hear it. I just fucking go past. But all these people, when you hear it and you go into the comments, they're all just like claiming it. Oh, I'm claiming this. I'm claiming this. Oh my God, who is teaching you? Like, what in the hell? Claiming. I'm claiming that future. Yeah, I'm sticking a claim on that future. Okay. So you have an internal guidance that is telling you what your future is. Whether or not you're listening, whether or not you're just sitting around talking about the game or what you're going to drink tonight at the bar or whatever, but you have guidance in there that is telling you which direction to go, what you need to do, depending on your own, your own communication skills, your own even, what is that word? Your own involvement, but your own interest in the involvement. And so, a lot of people they think it's weird. They think it's weird to talk to yourself or to be in communication for yourself or reflect on things or any of that. They think that's strange. But to me, it is important. It is, is a better way to live. But when they are telling you the things, showing you, telling you or whatever, and then you're like, well, I could choose to not do what they're telling me because I feel insecure. I don't like, then I have more lessons. But if you do what they tell you and you follow the path, then you are creating your future. You are manifesting. You're making it happen. You don't just sit back and do nothing but claim it. Let's sit back. Oh, I like that future. That one sounds nice. I claim that one. I'm just going to sit here right now and I'm going to claim it. So come on over here and just get on in. That's not how it works. So, man, I just don't know what the hell people are being taught out there. It's very strange. I don't know if it's tarot readers telling people, just claim this. Claim this as your future. It's like, for one thing, when they're reading to you, it's supposed to be a confirmation. It's supposed to be something that you're supposed to be hearing your message. It's not just like an overall thing. If it's just an overall thing, you have no connection to it. You're not supposed to just sit and listen to it. Like, and I don't know if this has got people all jacked up or something, because it's just so readily available. And they think that every message must be to them because they have no discernment. And so then they think, like, how many different futures have you claimed at this point? Are you just keep claiming the same future, but are you taking action into the future? Is it the future that you're supposed to be taking action into? Are you fighting against your own future? Like, I don't know. To me, like, this world at times seems like such a free-for-all. Like, people don't have any idea that there's destiny. They don't have any idea that they have, that they are manifesting every single day. You're always manifesting. You're always directing your energy. You're directing it. A lot of people are directing it towards just failing all the time because they just don't see themselves as having value. But you're manifesting your future all the time by the choices you make. So, I don't know, but my hair is about to drive me crazy. And it's so weird because I could sit here and like look at this, and I could sit here and go like, oh my gosh, it looks like really dirty. Like, let's see, what was the last thing I washed it with? As I came home and I washed it with, what was it? I put something. Maybe it was just the apple cider vinegar that I did, an apple cider vinegar. Oh yeah, because I did a honey one. And then I felt like all the honey just stayed right here. So then I did an apple cider vinegar one. And it did the same kind of thing. And so then I have been brushing and brushing, because the boar hair brush, bristle brush thing is important if you're trying to go with the no shampooing. And so every time that I put any of these things on, it's like my hair has like a reaction, and it will just drown me in more of the coating that goes on our hair. And so I was like, man, what in the hell with my hair? And I'll go in the mirror and it doesn't look dirty at all. It's weird. It's like something with the way the light which I did when I was talking the other day about the thing. Okay, because when I was driving past that water again, this was so weird because I was looking at it again. Okay, it says the water's up by the highway, and this is around Snoqualmie Pass or Sammamish or something. But so there's a lake or big water thing. And so then far, far back is some big mountains. And then in front of the mountains is some more like hill kind of things with a lot of trees and stuff. And then there's a big open place. And then there's water. And then there's the highway. And so in the reflection, though, it looks like that the mountain is right there. Like there's something off. There's something weird. Like what I kept saying the other day is like there's something weird about the reflections. And so I had just seen this video, and I've seen a bunch of people doing these, but you put something, like you can go in the bathroom or wherever you have a mirror, and you put something in front of it. So you block, it can be like this girl was just saying, use a book. Take a book and put it in front of the mirror, and then put your fist behind the book, and then look over, and you will see that reflection. You should just see the book, but you're going to see the whole thing. Like there's weird things, like people keep doing these weird reflection things in the mirror and being like, how is the mirror showing parts of the room that you can't see? Or parts of a person that you can't see or whatever. Like there's weird things that go on with this reflection. And that's why I was saying it seems like it's something to me, that affirms to us that we have a firmament, that we are contained. But I don't know. But anyways, that is strange about the reflection thing. But that wasn't, that just came into my head for a second about that. Because when I was driving past, I was like, there's no fucking way. This water is so far away from that mountain and those trees. How in the hell does it look like it's like a lake right under them? It makes no sense. It's like almost like somebody's just putting the image there because we expect it to be there. But I wouldn't even be expecting it to be there. I would expect it to just look like the sky, just be reflecting the sky and birds flying. Like, it's very strange. And so there was something else I was going to say. I don't know. I feel like I'm all over the place. I know I'm all over the place. Oh, I've been talking almost 2 hours. So anyways, that's a lot of different stuff that I've said. So I don't even know how to wrap it up. Like, just, there's just so many people who just go deeper. Just keep looking deeper. Keep talking to yourself. Keep going in deeper. Keep, turn the conversations inward. Turn your view of life inward. The more that you pull yourself in, the more truth you're going to find. And the more you're going to be, the less you're going to be misled. Because there's a lot of people, who are out there misleading people. And there's weird things, too, going on with accounts. Like, now there's arrests, of course, with people who are part of the Call for Freedom. Like, we didn't see that coming. And so all these movies, all these different things, it's all just to keep exposing stuff. So, but it was something with that, too, with arrests or whatever. I don't know. There just keeps being so many wacky things. It all just keeps being so we can be exposed to the truth. We can release our parts, the parts we've played, release our own shame, or release our own humility, see ourselves more clearly. It's all about that. Everything is about releasing this world to find your truth of who you are. And then, that's when we're going to start the new one, the new way. I saw that one girl who, she said she's been saying the same thing since 2016 or whatever. She said she thinks it's all going to be like in 28 or 29 where we're going to start having no government. I think that's going down now. I think that, because she was saying the same thing, it's all ending, but she's saying it's going to be like, it could go slow and go through that part to where we finally get to 28 or 29 and we literally have no government. But it is already going. And it's stupid, absurd things like DeSantis out there talking, and then you hear about what's going on in his place and stuff like that. And people who really want to vote him in, it's like, do y'all have any awareness of what goes on in this world? Like, are you paying attention, or it's just anybody they stick in front of you, they say a key word, and you're just like, oh, that's my candidate. Because that's what's important here. We need to have somebody running the world. It's like, no, you need to get where you can run your own. Then you won't want somebody over you. It's like all these people are like fucking still 6th graders or something. They still want some mommy and daddy over them, telling them where to go, what to do, how to be there, what time to be there, how fast to drive, when, the whole fucking thing. It's like, because they need that book to tell them not to kill. They don't know otherwise. If the book doesn't say it, you can do whatever you want. Okay. So anyways, that's enough of my rambling for now. But I don't know what today is going to be like. Today's Monday. So we can always hope there's going to be some fucking banks not opening or something. Somebody fucking there'll be arrests. There'll be lots more arrests this week. It seems like it's just like a part of the frustration right now, though. Like, we're going to release this movie, and then, a couple weeks later, when everybody talking about it, let's arrest this guy. It's all just the absurdity. It just gets so absurd. And if you're not knowing what's going on, you're going to find the absurdity so frustrating. Like, to me, this is a time of kind of just detaching, as it is all being exposed to people who have not been paying attention. If you've been paying attention for a long time, there's some frustrating shit. So, but it's up to you to manage yourself, to know what you need. To, if you need to hang on to every little thing that's going on, like, it's wacky. It's wacky out there, man. So, anyways, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. Fuck. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. Yesterday I did make some biscotti, but I'm feeling really weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it is like, it is weird. It's very weird. Whatever's going on the planet, I can feel the shift happening, and so it is. Things are shifting. Just, man, just a lot of stuff. You just want it to go so much faster, and it could still, suddenly flip, but it still is like, kind of like, when you go to those, like the fancy hotel or whatever, it's got those round doors, and you walk in the door, and then I think they even have it at Red Robin, and you go in, and then you have to walk, and it turns. It's like this circle door. I don't even know what they're called. But when you first go in it, you have to like really push it to get it to go. And then it picks up energy and flips to go the other direction. I think it's kind of like that. Anyways, that's the imagery that they showed me. Is like we're we're pushing right now. We're pushing that door. And then it's going to break loose and flip the other direction. That flipping the other direction, that is where the big energy is going to come. That is where we're going to really have this significant impact. And so, don't know for sure. There's going to be a lot of loss of life, but we've already got that going. And there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of anger. So, but it's like we're in the door right now. We're all in there pushing, and there's still people waiting to get in the door, and there's still people way at the back of the line. They're like, what are we doing? What's everybody doing up there? So, but those of us who are in there, we're pushing, then it's that vacuum seal. And but it's going to break. It's going to go. So anyways, enough of that, and I will talk to you later. Bye.